about function scope, function block. Apart from that, we have discussed about parameterized function, like how to pass parameters, how to pass arguments, what are the difference between parameters and arguments. This is what we have discussed in the last session. Okay. Now let's suppose if I am defining here one function something like fn, and if I open this curly braces, okay. Now what do you call to this space? Whatever space you are finding in between these curly braces, what do we call to this space? Nice. We call as a function scope, right? Function scope. Function block means this curly braces. This curly brace and this curly brace we are going to call as a function block. Okay. And in between that, whatever space you have, that we are going to call as a function scope. This is our function name. Fn is a function name. Okay. Function is a keyword. It is a keyword to indicate that fn is a function. Inside this parenthesis, how many parameters I can take? Inside my parenthesis, how many parameters I can define here? Yeah, any number of parameters I can define, right? Suppose if I am defining here f. Okay. Let's suppose I am defining just one parameter. Now let's assume that we have written some logic here. Okay. Some set of statements we have written here. Okay. Now this entire thing, what we are going to call? This entire thing, what we are going to call? This entire thing, what we are going to call? Yeah, you can call it as a function definition or function declaration. You can use any term. Okay. Now, if I write this function in my JavaScript file and if I execute my JavaScript file, do you think that function will get executed? If I implement my function in JavaScript file and if I run that JavaScript file, do you think that function will get executed? No. Okay. If you want to execute the function, what we need to do? If you want to execute any function, you have to call that function. Okay. This is how we are going to call the function. Now, how many arguments I can pass to this function? Now, this function is taking one parameter. So how many arguments I can pass? Yeah, I can pass any number of arguments. See, my question was how many arguments I can pass? Answer is you can pass any number of arguments. Okay, I can pass here 2 arguments also. Okay, if you pass multiple arguments, it will not throw any kind of error. But it is recommended that if you have one parameter, you have to pass only one argument. Okay, if you have one parameter, then you have to pass only one argument. It is what recommended, but it is not mandatory. You can pass any number of arguments. If you want, you cannot. If you want, you can skip arguments also. Okay, you can call your function without arguments also. Suppose if I am calling this function without argument, so what will store in this parameter? What kind of data will store in this parameter in case if I am not passing any kind of argument? Yes, in that case, one special value will be stored inside this parameter, and that special value is undefined. Okay, that special value is undefined. Okay, now tell me what type of data I can pass as an argument. Let's suppose I am passing here one argument. If you are passing an argument, then what type of data you can pass? Can I pass number type of data like this? Can I pass number? Can I pass a string? Can I pass like this a string? Can I pass a Boolean value? Some Boolean value? Answer yes. So in the same way, how we can pass a number, how we can pass a string, how we can pass a Boolean value, in the same way, you can pass one anonymous function also. You can pass one anonymous function also. Now, what is this anonymous function? Anonymous function means a function without name. Function without name is called anonymous function. Okay. So how we are able to pass a number, string, boolean value in the same way as an argument, we can pass one anonymous function also. Okay. We can pass one anonymous function also. Now this is called anonymous function. What is anonymous function? Function without name. What is anonymous function? Function without name. Function without name is called anonymous function. Okay, function without name. So are we giving any name to this function? We are not giving, right? Just we defined a keyword called function. In front of that, we have added parenthesis, then open curly brace, close curly brace. And inside this curly brace, you can write whatever logic you want to write. Inside this curly braces, you can write whatever logic you want to write. Okay. So here the point what we need to understand is as an argument, we can pass a function also. So here we need to understand as an argument, we can pass number type of data, number, string, or boolean type of data. Apart from this, we can pass one function also as an argument. Okay. Now we can pass normal function. We can pass normal function. We can pass parameterized function. We can pass anonymous function also. Third is we can pass anonymous function also. You can pass any type of a function as an argument to your function. You can pass any type of any function type as an argument to your function. So in this example, I just passed anonymous function, but it is not mandatory that you have to pass only anonymous function. You can pass normal function also. Okay. So how to pass normal function? Let me show you. So here I'm just showing you. I'm just creating something. Callback.js. I'm just creating one JavaScript file. Okay. Now inside this JavaScript file, let's suppose I am defining one function add. Let's assume that this function is taking two parameters, x comma y. Okay. Now here simply I am saying console.log. Okay. Directly I am writing console.log statement. And inside this console.log statement, I am performing one operation. Nothing but here I am writing one expression. X plus y. Simply I am writing x plus y. Let's assume that I am creating one more function print console.log. Suppose inside the console.log, if you pass double quotes, and in that double quotes, if you pass some content like this, if you pass some text, then what this console.log will do, whatever content you are passing in double quotes, it will print that content as it is. Inside the console.log, if you are passing double quotes, if you are passing a string, then it will print that string as it is in the console. If you are passing like this expression, then it will evaluate that expression. Whatever result will be generated, that result will be printed. If you are passing a just variable, then whatever data you have stored in that variable will be printed, whether you are passing variable or parameter. If you are just passing variable or parameter, whatever data you have stored in that variable or parameter, it will be printed as it is. If you pass some expression like this, then it will evaluate that expression. Whatever result will be generated, that result it will print. If you are passing like this a string, if you are passing some content in double quotes, then whatever content you are passing in the double quotes, as it is, that content will be printed in your console. Okay. So let's assume that I have defined two functions here, add and one is print. This is normal function. This is parameterized function. Now I am creating one more function. Function something like fn. Now let's assume that this function is taking only one parameter, that is f. Okay, just I given some name as f. Now whenever I call this fn function like this, now I need to pass one argument because it is taking one parameter. Now as an argument, I can pass anything. I can pass like this 100. If I pass 100, this 100 will go and store inside this f. Now I can do console.log of f. Now what it will print? It will print 100. So let's see that. Open your terminal. Now simply execute node space your callback. Now see, it is printing 100. Okay, here what we did, we defined three functions, but we are calling only one function, that is fn. And what we are doing, we are passing one argument. This time what we are passing, number type of data we are passing. So it is printing 100. Now instead of number, I can pass one string also. I can pass one string also. If I am passing a string, then it will print that string as it is. It is passing a string. So in the same way, how I am passing a number and a string, I can pass Boolean also, and I can pass one anonymous function also. Anonymous function means function without name. Function without name. Now inside this function, I can write whatever logic I want to write. I can declare variables, I can assign some values, I can print those variables, I can do whatever I want. So let's suppose here I am creating a variable called city, assigning some value like Delhi. And simply I am trying to print console.log. Console.log of city. Okay. Now what I did, just observe here. I called my fn function. To that function, I am passing one anonymous function as an argument. I am passing one anonymous function as an argument. In this case, what happens? This function will go and it will store inside this parameter. This entire function as it is, it will go and store inside this parameter. Now, if I call this function, now just see in the output what it will print. Now see, in the output, it is printing one function. And what type of function? It is an anonymous function. It is saying that it is an anonymous function. Now, if you are storing some function in a parameter, can you call that function? Can we call that function? If I call that function, let's see what it will print in the console. Now see, it is printing Delhi. It is printing Delhi. Why Delhi? Because inside this anonymous function, we created a variable, and in that variable, we are storing the value as a Delhi, and we are trying to print that variable value. How many times we can call that anonymous function inside our function? We can call any number of times. Now, if I go back here, if I just execute it, now see Delhi, Delhi, Delhi. Okay, understood this point? As an argument, we can pass any function. We can pass anonymous function, or you can pass normal function also. So what I can do, I can call this fn. Now here already I have created one normal function, right? Print. So I can pass this function. I can pass print function. Okay, I am passing print function. If I pass print function, just check what it will print. Okay, just to differentiate, I will just add here one console.log, and here I will just add like this. Okay, this console.log will differentiate this function call and this function call. Now we are calling fn two times. Here we are calling, here we are calling. And inside the fn, this f, using parameter f, we are calling the another function three times. So just check here. Now see, here we got that console.log 3 times Delhi printed. Then again it is printing console.log. Now this time it is saying that it is a print function. Inside F we are storing print function. Here we are storing anonymous function. Now it is printing that function. So in that normal function, what logic we have written? In that normal function, just we wrote one console.log statement. And in double quotes, we passed some content. So this content as it is printing. Okay. So the point what you have to understand here is, as an argument, I can pass anonymous function. I can pass normal function also. And in the same way, I can pass one parameterized function also. Now here, I have add, right? So I will pass here add. Now, if I just try to print it, now see here it is saying that we are printing anonymous function add. Now what we got here as a result, we got NaN. Now what is the meaning of NaN? NaN means not a number. So whenever you add two undefined values, it will give the output as a NaN. NaN means not a number. Now just check here. I am calling fn and I am passing add function. Now add function means this function I am passing. Okay. Now this function we are calling. Now this function is expecting two arguments, but here we are not passing any arguments while calling it. That is the reason undefined plus undefined, it will print NaN. It will print NaN. NaN stands for not a number. When you will get NaN, whenever you do undefined plus undefined, or if you do undefined plus some number, if you add some number, then it will give this kind of result, NaN. So is this point clear for everyone? As an argument, we can pass number, string, or Boolean type of data. Apart from this, we can pass one function as an argument. Normal function, parameterized function, or anonymous function. Okay, here instead of one, I will add pass. Okay, we can pass. Apart from this, we can pass function also as an argument. Yeah, fine. Is it clear, guys? Any doubts up to here? Okay, guys, here just understand the concept. Here, what you guys have to understand, you have to just understand, as an argument, we can pass number, we can pass string, we can pass Boolean. Apart from this, as an argument, we can pass normal function also, parameterized function also, anonymous function also. This is what I am trying to make you understand. Now, when to pass anonymous, when to pass parameterized, when to pass normal, that you will understand whenever that use case comes into picture. Okay. As of now, here we are learning the programming language called JavaScript. Here we are trying to understand about JavaScript concepts. So let's focus only on that part. Okay. So here I am trying to make you understand how we can pass anonymous function, how we can pass normal function, and how we can pass one parameterized function. So is it clear up to here? Okay. So come back here. So yesterday we have discussed that we can create a function like this. Can I create one function? To this function, can we pass parameters? Let's suppose I am passing a parameter called fun. Some parameter I am passing. Now inside this function, can I write some logic? Now if you want to execute this function, we have to call this function. Okay. Now if this function is taking one parameter, then we have to pass one argument. So as an argument, can I pass number? Can I pass number? Right? Yeah. So can I pass string? Can I pass string? Okay, we can pass string also. So in the same way, how I am passing number, how I am passing string, in the same way, I can pass one anonymous function also. I can pass one anonymous function. Now, what is anonymous function? Function without name. And inside this function, I can write whatever logic I want. Is it cool? Did you understood up to here? Yeah, Chandrasekhar. Okay, so I can pass one call like this, one anonymous function also. Apart from this anonymous function, can I pass another function like add? Let's assume we have created one add function. Here we have created one add function, right? So can I pass normal function or parameterized function as an argument? Yes, I can pass it. Okay, can I pass normal function called print? Can I pass normal function? Yes. So this is what I have explained. This is what I have explained. What is anonymous function? What is anonymous function? Function without name. Okay, till now, how did we create the function? Till now, if you want to create a function, we used function keyword. Then we gave some name, right? We gave function name. Like I have given fn add. Now this is my function name. Now if you create any function like this, it is called normal function. If you create a function without name means just use function keyword, then open parenthesis, close parenthesis, open curly brace, close curly brace. Now, if you are creating a function without name, now such functions are called anonymous functions. That's it. So is it clear what is anonymous function and what is normal function? Yes, just function without name. If your function doesn't have any name, we are going to call it as an anonymous function. Apart from that, nothing. Okay. Now just read this sentence. Just read this sentence. Just take 1 minute of your time. Just read this part and let me know whether you understood or you got confused. Is it clear, guys? Understood this part now? Now, just understand one more point. Any function, remember, I am using the term any function. Any function means it can be anonymous function, it can be normal function, okay? It can be your parameterized function, or in future, it can be arrow function, or it can be function expression. Whatever, any function which you are passing as an argument, which you are passing as an argument, any function which you are passing as an argument, those functions are called callback functions. Those functions are called callback functions. Is it clear? Any function which you are passing as an argument, those functions are called callback functions. Okay, read this sentence, guys. Very, 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 very important. Initially, you will feel a little bit confused, but once you understand, it will help us a lot in coming sessions to understand the complex concepts. Any function which you are passing as an argument, those functions are called callback functions. Okay, it can be any function. It can be normal function, it can be anonymous function, it can be parameterized function. Once you pass that function as an argument, now it is called a callback function. Now, in this case, can I call this function as a callback function? Can I call this function as a callback function? Okay, now in this case, this function. Now this is your callback function. Okay, now in this case, now tell me, in this case, which function we are going to call as a callback function? In this case, which function I should call as a callback function? Nice. In this case, print is called callback function. Okay, print is called callback function. Can I call fn as a callback function? Can I call fn as a callback function? Can I call fn as a callback function? No. Okay, the function which we are passing as the argument, argumented function, is called callback function. Okay, now in this case, now tell me, in this case, which is the callback function? Yes, in this case, add is a callback function. Add is a callback function. I hope everybody understood what is callback function. So in your interviews, they will ask, what is callback function? So you have to say any function which is passed as an argument to another function. Any function which is passed as an argument to another function. That argumented function is called callback function. Or any function which you are passing as an argument, those functions are called callback function. Okay. Understood what is callback function? Fn is a function name. Okay. So here Fn is a function name, right? Here while defining the function, I just gave my function name as a Fn. That is my function name. Any doubts up to here? Now let's try to understand one more concept. Any function, remember, any function which is taking another function as an argument. Any function which is taking another function as an argument. Those function or that function is called higher order function. Any function which is taking another function as an argument. Another function as an argument. That function is called higher order function. Any function which is taking another function as an argument. Okay, that function is called higher order function. One more point we have to remember here is functions are called higher order function only if it takes minimum one argument as a function. Functions are called higher order functions only if it takes minimum one argument as a function or one function as an argument. Okay, functions are called higher order functions only if it takes minimum one function as an argument. So these are the points what you have to remember. Now in this case, can you guys tell me which function I can call as a higher order function? Yes, nice. So in this case, Fn is called higher order function. Fn, here also Fn, here also Fn. Okay, all these are called higher order function. Okay, so in short, HOF. Yes, in short, you can call as HOF. Okay, in short, we will call as HOF. Okay, are you guys clear with callback and higher order function? Lot of people will get confused with these two terms. Okay, in your interviews, they will ask what is the difference between higher order and callback. Any function which is taking another function as an argument, that function is called higher order. Any function which is passed as an argument, that argumented function is called callback. Okay, suppose if I have two, let's suppose here I have one function. Okay, I'm just giving some name, my function, like this. Okay, let's suppose I have a function like this. Now this function, let's assume this function is taking two parameters. Okay, this function is taking two parameters, something called f comma ct. Okay, you can give anything as a parameter, you can give anything. I can give name also. Okay, let's suppose it is taking two parameters, name comma ct. And let's assume we have written some logic here. We have written some logic. Now, if I want to execute this function, it means I need to call this function like this. I need to call this function. Now, this function is taking two parameters, means how many arguments I need to pass? Two arguments I need to pass. So can I pass two numbers as an argument? Can I pass like this? Is it valid? Yes, it is valid. Can I pass two strings? Can I pass two strings? Yes, it is valid. Can I pass one string and one number? Yes, it is valid. Can you pass one string and one boolean? Yes, you can pass. Can you pass one boolean and one number? Yes, you can do that. In the same way, you can pass one string and one function also as an argument. And that function can be anything. It can be normal function. It can be anonymous function. It can be parameterized function. You can pass one string and one function as an argument, or else you can pass one number and one function as an argument, or else you can pass two functions as an argument. Okay, depending upon your requirement, you can pass anything. If your function is taking at least one argument as a function, if your function is taking at least one function as an argument, then only we will call this function as a higher order function. When we can call this function as a higher order function? If it takes minimum one argument as a function. It can be anonymous, it can be normal, it can be parameterized. Okay. Now suppose I have one more function here like this. Now my function name is f1, and let's suppose I am taking parameter as x. Now I am calling here f1 and I am passing 100. So can I call f1 as a higher order function? Can I call f1 as a higher order function? No. Why? Because we are not passing function as an argument. Can I call my fun as a higher order function? Yes. Okay. So your function should take, functions are called higher order functions only if it takes minimum one function as an argument. If you are passing two functions as an argument, then also it is called higher order. If you are passing 3 or 100, it is called higher order, but minimum one function you have to pass. If you are passing 100 parameters, you are passing 100 arguments, but even one argument is not a function, then it is not called higher order function. Okay, I hope now you guys understood what are anonymous function, what is anonymous function, what is callback function, what is higher order function. We know what are normal function. We know what is parameterized function. I hope all these terms are clear, right? Yeah, that is what we have done, the Shravan, right? So we are calling callback functions inside our higher order functions. Okay. Now if you see here, now here can I call fn as a higher order function? Can I call fn as a higher order function? Yes. In that we are calling other functions. Okay. Now tell me, I have a function. Let's suppose I have a function. Let's assume that I have a function. To this function, can I pass some input? To this function, can I pass some input? To the function, can I pass some input? To any JavaScript function, can we pass input? Yes. How to pass input? How to pass input? Using which concept we can pass the input to our functions? Yes, using parameters and arguments, right? Using parameters and arguments. We can pass input to our functions. We can pass some input data to our functions. In the same way, a function can return some output. Function can return some output. It can return output to a function call. Function can return output. How we are able to pass the input to our function? In the same way, a function can return some output. And how to return the output from function means using one special statement called return statement. Using a special statement called return statement. How we are passing a input to our function using parameter and argument? In the same way, a function can return one output also. And how to return the output from function means using a return statement. Now, who will receive that returned output? Who will receive that returned output? Output will be received by the function call. Wherever we are calling the function, at that place, we will receive that output. So let's see. So here I am just creating return.js. Suppose I am creating one function myfn. Let's assume this is my function name. Okay. Now this function is taking, let's suppose, two parameters, x comma y. Now here I am creating one variable called var result and doing the operation like x plus y. Now whatever you will pass in xy, that we are going to add, and that result will be generated, and we are storing that result inside this variable. And from here we can return the value of this result variable. We can return the value of this variable. Now if I do here, if I call this function, now whenever I am calling this function, I need to pass two arguments. So here I am passing 100, 200. Now whenever I pass 100, 200, 100 will store in x, 200 will store in y. This line will get executed. So internally it will do 100 plus 200. It will generate some result. That result we will store here. Nothing but inside the result variable, we are storing the value 300. Now here we are using one special statement called return. Now what this statement will do? Whatever data you stored in this variable, it will return that. It means whenever we call this function, now this function is returning some output to us. So whenever this function returns some output, we have to catch that output. How to catch that output? Using one variable. Here I will say variable output. Now this function, whenever you call this function will return some output. Whatever it will return, that you are storing in this variable. Now here I can do console.log of output. Now if I just execute it, node return. Now see, I got 300. I got 300. Now why we got 300? Because of this value, because of this statement. If I remove this statement, it will not print anything. Because inside our file, we are not using console.log anywhere. So it will not print anything. So it is not printing anything. Now I want to check what is the data we stored in this variable. So simply I am doing console.log. Now see 300 print. So what this function is doing, this function is returning some value. It is returning some value. You can return anything. If you are keeping the variable in front of this return statement, then the value of that variable will be returned. If you want, you can directly return the value also. I can return like this 1000. Now here what I'm doing, I'm directly writing some value. So I can return the value also. Now if I try to execute, it will print 1000. So you can return a variable. If you are returning a variable, then the value of that variable will be returned, or else you can directly return some value. If you want, you can return here one string also. Like this, we can return one string also. See, one string is written. If you want, you can return one anonymous function also. You can return one anonymous function also. Now if I just execute, now whenever you call fn function, if you are passing the parameters, if you are passing the arguments, those arguments will store in the parameter. Here this operation will be performed, and then you are using return statement. Now what you are returning? You are returning one function. This entire function will go and store inside this variable. Now if I do console.log of that variable, it should print that anonymous function. If you want to call this function, here we can call. Like this I can call. Because inside this variable now we are storing one function. So we can call that function like this. Now see, it is printing here, I am anonymous function. Because we call this function. Whenever we call output like this, first it will check inside this output what we are storing. Then it will see that, okay, we are storing this anonymous function. Now it will call this anonymous function. Now whenever anonymous function is called, we are simply doing here console.log. And in that we are passing one string. So that string, it prints as it is. As it is printing. Or else here I can do like this. X plus y. Now if I do x plus y, it will calculate x plus y. Whatever result will be generated, that result it will print. Now see, it is printing 300. Now if I pass 1, 2 or 1, 5, then it will print 6. Okay, so the point what we have to understand here is we can return something from our function. We can return something from our function to the caller. Whoever call these functions, to that person we can return something. How to return? Using return statement. And any function which returns something, it is called returned function. Returned function means function which is returning something. which is giving output to us, which is returning some output to us. In that variable, what you are storing? In this variable, you are storing this function, and this function doesn't have any name. If this function doesn't have any name, how you will call this function? Using its variable name. Using its variable name. Okay. So here, just understand how to return the things. So this is how we are going to return this statement. So let me just take this screenshot. This is your return. And here we have to remember one point. Return statement should be the last statement inside your function. Note, return should be the last statement inside the function. After return statement, if you write anything, it will not execute. It will not execute. After return statement, if you write anything, it will not execute. That is the reason it is always recommended that return statement should be the last statement inside your function. So let's see here one more example. Suppose I am creating one function return, and let's suppose here I am returning simple string here. Now after this return statement, if you write anything, like if I write here console.log, and if I just try to print something, now this line will never execute. This line will never execute. The function execution will stop once it encounters return statement. Once return statement got encountered, then your function execution will stop. It means after return statement, whatever you will write, it will never execute. Even if I create here variable, and if I do console.log of x, now this statement will never execute. It will never execute. Now just check here. Now if I call this function, and if I just do here console.log of result, now let's check what it will print. Here it should be console.log. Now see, it is just printing only one value. I am returning statement. I am returning something. It is just printing this value. Now this code is not executed. This code is not at all executed. So after return statement, we should not write any kind of lines. Return should be the last statement inside your function. If you want, you can write the statement before return statement. This will work. Now this will work. Now this two console will print first, then this console will print. Now if I go back here, if I execute, now see here 100 printed, Now this console also printed. Afterwards, I am returning something is printed. Why? Because here we have written console.log. But after return, if you write something, it will not print anything. It will not print anything. So remember, return should be the last statement. Now suppose here I am writing function in the same line. That is the reason this function is returning. But if I write this function in the next line, now this function will give the error. See, here it is giving me error. It will not allow to define the function, anonymous function, after return statement. If you want, you can define in the same line. If you are defining in the same line, it means you are returning this function. You are returning this function. If you write in the next line, it will give the error. So after return, you should not write anything. Okay. Is it clear? Is it clear? Return statement. So here, let me add this screenshot as well. Okay, these lines are invalid. So here it should be invalid lines. Now suppose if I am defining anonymous function directly. Suppose here I am defining the function directly like this. In this case, JavaScript will not allow to define anonymous function directly like this. We cannot define anonymous function directly. Okay, so anonymous function you can pass as an argument. That is one way. Another way, you can just return anonymous function. These are only two ways how you can use your anonymous function. Anonymous function you can pass as an argument to any other function, or else you can return anonymous function from other function. Apart from this, if you want to define like this anonymous function, then you have to assign this anonymous function to some variable. You have to define, or you have to assign this anonymous function to some variable. If you are assigning anonymous function to some variable, then this entire thing we are going to call as a function expression. This entire thing we are going to call as a function expression. So in your JavaScript, you cannot define anonymous function directly like this. It is not at all possible. You can define anonymous function as an argument to another function. That is one possible way. Another possible way is you can return anonymous function from other function. Like if you see, while understanding the callback function, here I am defining the anonymous function as an argument. It is valid. If you see, while understanding the return statement, here we are returning one anonymous function. It is valid, but directly you cannot define directly like this. You cannot define anonymous function. Now, if you directly design like this anonymous function, then how you will be able to call this function? You cannot call this function, right? Because you don't know what is the name of function. Suppose if you get a requirement where you have to define like this anonymous function, in that case, what you can do, you can just assign this anonymous function to some variable, And if you are defining anonymous function to some variable, then this entire thing we are going to call as a function expression. So what is function expression? Function expression is a technique of assigning anonymous function to a variable. What is function expression? Function expression is a technique, or you can call process, function expression is a technique or process of assigning a anonymous function to a variable, Okay, example is this one. Is it clear, guys, what is function expression? Yeah, can you write inside the function body? Just try it. Just go and try it. You will understand. Okay. Is it clear, guys? What is function expression? Okay, we cannot assign normal function. We have to assign only anonymous function. There is no sense of assigning a normal function to your variable. Now, why we are assigning anonymous function to a variable? Because we don't know the name of that function. We don't have the name to that function. That is the reason we are assigning that function to a variable. Now, can I call this anonymous function? I want to call this anonymous function. How to call? With the help of this variable name. So simply here we can say name, call like a function. That's it. Okay, here you can say node fe. Now see, it is printing I am an anonymous function. Okay, how to call your anonymous function now? Using your variable name. You can give anything. You can give anything as a variable name. I can give like this fn name also. If I'm giving fn name, just call it. Just call it. Okay. Now, I hope you guys understood what is function expression also. Now, we know all this. Okay, now we know what is anonymous function, what is callback function, what is higher order function, normal function, parameterized function, return function. And we know what is function expression. Function expression. We know all these things. Okay. So one more thing we have to learn, that is arrow function. Okay, we will learn about arrow function at the end of our JavaScript sessions. Okay, at the end of our JavaScript session, while exploring the ES6 features, we will discuss about the arrow function. Okay, so I will just mark this part as a with red color. The meaning of that red color is we haven't discussed about arrow function. So we have just discussed this many points. Okay, so this is the concept of your functions in JavaScript. This is the concept of functions in JavaScript. So we will discuss about arrow functions at the end of our JavaScript sessions while discussing about ES6 features. There we will discuss what is the difference between normal function and arrow function, because this is one of the most asked interview question. But to understand arrow functions, you have to understand some more concepts. So that is the reason it is not a good idea to discuss arrow functions here itself, because everything will go out of your head if I discuss. So let's discuss arrow functions once we know some more set of concepts in JavaScript. Okay, now what are the topics we are aware about? What are the different topics we are aware about in JavaScript? We know variables, we know data types, we know type of operator, we know functions. These are the topics what we know in JavaScript as of now. The next topic we will learn, that is object in JavaScript. Object and operations on object. What is object? What kind of operations we can do on object, all those. Then we will explore arrays and its methods. String and its methods. And then we will discuss about the operators in JavaScript. Operators in JavaScript. Okay, so we will discuss this point. Once we have done with this, then again the same story. Selection statement and loops. Yeah. Now, once we have done with these topics, means you are good with basics of JavaScript. If you are done with these topics, you are good with basics of JavaScript. Once you know the basics of JavaScript, you can start learning your advanced technologies like React, Node, or Angular. Okay. So our next session on JavaScript, will be on Monday. Next session on JavaScript will be on Monday. Tomorrow, I will take the session. In that, I will cover CSS topic. So whatever topic is pending in CSS, that topic I will cover in tomorrow's session. But our next JavaScript session will be on Monday. Okay. So Sunday, there will be no class, guys. On Sunday, we don't have any class. So tomorrow I will cover CSS, and Monday again, I will start with JavaScript. Let's see how much we will cover CSS in tomorrow's session. Let's cover that much. If something is pending in CSS, then again, we will cover that topic in next Saturday. So in this way, we will cover all the things that are pending, plus we will cover our JavaScript. Yeah, all your HTML, CSS videos are available on the YouTube channel of Ashok IT. Guys, React.js, we are starting. React.js, we are starting on 21st August at 7:30 a.m. Okay. So if you guys are free at 7:30 a.m. and if you want to attend React.js, then you guys can join that batch. You guys can just attend the demo. If you like, then you can join the batch. At 5:30, React will start maybe in the second week of September. Suppose if you don't have the time, if you are already busy at 7:30, then you have to wait till September. In the second week of September, I will start React at 5:30. Most probably the date will be 11th September. 11th September. Okay. So in case if you are comfortable with 5:30 only, then you have to wait till September 11th. On 11th September, I will start React at 5:30, and on 21st August, I will start React at 7:30. Okay. If you have any other doubts which are non-technical, just connect with Ashok IT admin people. They will help you guys. Okay, with all your non-technical queries. Okay, all your non-technical queries will be solved by the management. So they are the right person to help those things. Yeah, that's all, guys. So let's meet on Monday. If you want to join JavaScript, if you just want to learn CSS, whatever pending topics are there, join tomorrow. Tomorrow at the same time at 5:30. For Angular, I think there are different trainers who will teach Angular at Ashok IT. For me, like I will be starting little late. I'm not confirmed when Angular will start. But if you want any information about Angular, just visit Ashok IT website, or you just ask admin people. They will help you out exactly when Angular will start. If you are full stack student, no need to pay anything for React because already you are in React, I think. Okay, just connect with your admin. They will help you out. Again, in full stack also, I don't know, right? Exactly you are from which full stack, whether you are Java full stack, .NET, Python, or UI full stack. If you are UI full stack, then no need to pay any kind of fee directly. I mean, you can join React batches. E-commerce application you can build with any technology, guys. You can build with React, you can build with Angular, you can build with Spring Boot, you can build with Node.js, Python, PHP. You can build any application, you can build with any technologies. Chandrasekhar, tomorrow will be at same timing, okay? 5:30 only. Tomorrow session is at same time.